All right, I'll hand it over to John.
Great, thank you. Is that working? Beautiful. First of all, thanks to Luke and everyone at the Lightning team for having us here today. It's a really good opportunity for us to get in front of customers and help them be informed about their EV charging, whether you're new to it or a seasoned veteran. Anything we can do to help you understand how to use your own energy better, we're all here for you. Make sure it's going to work. Which button is it? Oh, I was going to. I'll just use a mouse. Sorry. All right. Keep it analog. Yeah. Talking about smart technology and we're using analog stuff. Oh. Is it going to work? Sorry, you wouldn't think I work in tech support, would you? Yeah, so just an introduction to Myenergi and who we are. We're proudly committed to the transition of renewable energy and making that easier for anyone to access and removing those barriers to live a carbon-free life. So we were the world's first solar-aware EV charger to go to the market, which was the Zappi, and we're a market leader in the home energy management space. All our products are designed, built and shipped from a little town in the UK called Grimsby, and something I'm very proud of. For a company that's 8 years old, a very young company, so a bit of context, I've had a mustache for longer than 8 years. So since 2016, we've shipped over 600,000 devices globally, so that's over 30 countries. And we've been in Australia since 2021 officially. In 2022, we were Britain's 9th fastest growing company, and we're going from strength to strength ever since. And sustainability is right at the heart of everything we do. That comes right down to our product packaging. When you unbox our products, you'll find there's no cardboard, no bubble wrap or soft plastic. It's all cardboard and paper and recycled materials. So we'd be hypocrites if we walk the walk without talking the talk. So we are aiming for B Corp certification as well. So that video there is our headquarters in Grimsby. There's plenty of solar on the roof, and we're aiming to make our manufacturing carbon neutral as well. And what do we do? Well known for the Zappi, but we go well beyond just being a solar-aware EV charger. We create a whole home energy management ecosystem, so you can see exactly what's going on in your home, whether it's your hot water, your battery, or your solar. And we make smart decisions on how you use that power and give you that visibility. So you can monitor your grid consumption and make most of cheap grid energy and manage the power in the home, so you're not overloading the mains. You can optimise it for your cost, comfort, carbon and convenience, and you get full control over where that power goes and visibility, which is really important as well. As you may or may not be aware, if you're following the news and what's happening in the energy market, there's going to be a massive transition in the next 20 to 30 years in how we consume power, and the whole energy market is going to flip on its head. We've got abundance of renewables pumping in the grid, whether it's wind turbines or solar farms or rooftop solar. So the off-peak is changing from nighttime to daytime. So this has kind of left energy markets exposed. Does anyone here actually trust their energy retailer at the moment? So this has left them their pants down, and we've got full visibility of wholesale market prices now, which we didn't have before. So energy retailers really have to pull their finger out and offer something to the customer, because they're now dependent on us where we used to depend on them. So particularly if we've got rooftop solar and batteries, we've got control. So it puts us in a really good position. We're in the box seat. So it's going to be a really exciting time. Yeah, it's going to be very, very beneficial for not just us, for the planet as well, which is why we're doing all this in the first place. So if anyone's new to owning an EV, congratulations, you've made a very good choice. Your relationship with energy is going to change dramatically if it hasn't already. So if you ever go to a petrol station, or we used to go to a petrol station, now it's just going to become an overpriced supermarket. Getting in a petrol vehicle is going to be like a history lesson. So I've been driving an EV for 2 years now, and when I jump in a mum's car, I feel like the teeth are going to rattle out of my head. It's just so noisy and smelly, and yeah, it's a very difficult adjustment to go back to. Energy bills are going to become your second largest household expense after your rent or your mortgage, because EVs do draw a lot of power, but it doesn't have to be that way. And we're here to help you reduce your carbon emissions and your energy bills. This is like a typical transition from petrol to electric. So you might be upgrading from a Toyota Kluger to a Model Y, very good choice. Your fuel cost straight away is halved, well not halved, but down by $5 per 100 Ks. Over the course of the year, you're saving over $1,000 a year. That's just based on Tesla supercharging alone. Your maintenance costs is going to come down. There's no spark plugs or oil changes or anything like that. And your carbon emissions is going to drop dramatically. So you're going to be saving 4 tonnes of carbon emissions just by moving to electric. And that's charging from grid power from Tesla supercharger alone. So it's a massive difference you're making on the climate just by moving to an electric vehicle. And that's not even considering the carbon cost in transporting fuel all around the country. So every petrol station has to have petrol trucked in, and that comes with carbon costs as well. That said, it's much better to charge at home if you've got the ability to. So this is a bit of a price breakdown of how much money you can save just by being able to charge at home and being smart about how you use your energy at home. So your Tesla supercharger, it's going to cost around $34 for a full charge. If you charge on a flat rate, 26 cents a kilowatt hour, that price comes down to $14. If you can move to an off-peak, the 8 cents a kilowatt hour overnight between midnight and 6, you can get a full charge for $4. And then if you're using the OVO EV plan, you get free energy between 11 and 2. It's going to cost you nothing. So space of a year, it's going to save you $1,500 compared to charging for a supercharger. And you pay your EV charger off at home in the space of 1 year. So it's a massive difference. I've been lazy and I'm still on the flat rate, but I need to pull my finger out and start saving myself some money. So then I can buy more coffee. And this is just to demonstrate the differences in charge time. So because of those cheaper electricity rates, you've got a shorter window of being able to pull all that free electricity. So this is your charge time from 20% to 90% on Model Y. If you've got 3-phase power, you can get that done in under 5 hours. If you've got a single phase home, that comes up to about 8 hours. And then if you're charging from a 10 amp granny charger, that charge time goes out to 23 hours. So you're pulling 2.4 kilowatts for a full day, basically, off a 10 amp portable. So you really lose that opportunity to maximise those short windows of time there. That's the amount of time you've got to get as much free power as you can. If you're using a 10 amp portable, you're really not being able to capitalise on that, and you're missing out on free electricity, and everyone loves free stuff. And just touching a bit more about granny charging or trickle charging, or whatever type of charging you like to call it. Granny charging sounds a bit mean. It's good in a pinch. It can help out if you're going away somewhere, but it's not a viable or safe long-term solution. So if you think about a kettle, it might draw 6 amps or 10 amps for 2 or 3 minutes. The portable charger is doing the same for 23 hours straight. So 10 amp circuits aren't always designed to carry that amount of current for that amount of time. And it's only as safe as the wiring behind your plug. So if you're in an older home, you've got rubber insulated wiring, plugging into a portable, or the kids might put in a double adapter or something without you knowing about it. All of a sudden, you've got a massive fire risk. They're often cheap as well, so there's limited support when they fail. You'd be lucky to get a 12-month warranty out of a lot of them, and it limits your charge capacity, so you really miss out on that window of opportunity when there's free electricity available. And that one's in Melbourne too, so don't think it was an overseas thing that's happened. You might have seen that in the media. And when you're using that free window between 11 and 2, you want to be pulling as much free power as you can, not just for your EV, but it could be your washing, your pool pumps, that sort of thing as well. So that's where dynamic load balancing becomes critical. So with dynamic load balancing, you might have a 40 amp supply to your property, the charger pulling 32 amps, so you've got 8 amps left for the rest of the house. You put your washing machine on, so wash your clothes for free, then put your tumble dryer on, and then drying your clothes, all consuming that free electricity. Then you're pretty proud of yourself because you're not paying for it. So decide to make a cup of tea. All of a sudden you're at 50 amps and all the lights are off. So your free power goes to 0 power because you don't have any power to your home. So what the Zappi will do, or smart chargers will do via that CT clamp, they'll see that amount of power, drop the charge rate down to 22. Then when your kettle finishes boiling, goes back up to 28. So you're still consuming the maximum rate of power, but you're not compromising the home. And you keep watching the RuPaul Grand Final and not be too worried. So that's an example of how much power an EV can draw versus the rest of the house. So this is in a rental I used to live in. You can see the charge rate, it drops in real time based on house load. So I turn on the oven, washing machine, a few loads, and you can see via the app that the charge rate would drop straight away and then ramp back up again when that power became available. So you've saved money by getting cheap grid power, and you want to take that a step further, or you might already have solar. So your next step is putting solar on your roof. So the really important thing with an EV charger is making sure your EV charger will integrate with your solar or your battery. The really good thing about our ecosystem is it's 100% brand agnostic. So you could have any inverter or any battery in the showroom, and the Zappi will be able to integrate with any of them. So we had a customer a few months ago that had a Fronius Watt pilot. They had two Fronius inverters, but they only charged solar from one of the two inverters. So in some cases, we can actually integrate with manufacturers better than they can with their own charger. And it's highly configurable, so it's got heaps of feature-rich settings that allow you to connect to any home, whether it's single-phase, three-phase. We've got our products installed off-grid as well. The amount of configurability and flexibility we have in our installation capability is probably the best on the market. Just to explain the solar or air charge mode, so you've got your Zappi on your wall and you're wanting to charge from solar. Eco Plus is your solar only charging. So as we were talking about before, the car needs 1.4 kilowatts. Below that, Eco Plus will stop charging if there's not enough surplus, and then wait for that surplus to come back again. If you've got a cloudy day and you're not getting 1.4 kilowatts, if it drops down to say 1.2, it'll make up the 200 watts from the grid to make sure you get that one consistent charge session and your charger's not starting and stopping. Because particularly BYD and BMW, they really don't like stop-start charging, so they'll shut off and prevent charging from coming through again. That eco mode setting is adjustable, so you can get right down to 1.4 kilowatts from the grid, so you can go right down. You can adjust that threshold of how much power you're prepared to draw from the grid to keep charging. Then in fast mode, that's just flat out, does what it says on the box. If you set it with fast mode and you have a battery, it can draw from the battery as well. So if that's what you want to do that. But if you're wanting to avoid draining your battery, we can set the Zappi up so it's not going to draw from your battery when charging from solar, which is really important. So how the solar aware charging will work, your inverter spits out 2.2 kilowatts, passes through your solar CT. So that enables you to monitor your solar generation, no matter what sort of inverter it is, no matter how many inverters you have. We can monitor that via CT clamps, and that will display on the screen and in your app as well. Your house loads, fridges, dishwashers, things like that, will consume 0.6. You're giving away the rest out to the grid, so you might be getting 3 cents if you're lucky. Rather than give that away and not get anything for it, you can put that back in your car and charge your car for free and emission free as well. The other great thing about the Zappi, it's got an LED light at the front, so it gives you a really good visual of where your power is coming from. So it'll pulse green when using 100% surplus solar energy. If it's a combination of solar and grid, it will change to yellow, and if it's grid only, it'll change white. So it's a really quick reference point. The other thing to keep in mind with three-phase charging is the Zappi is really intelligent in the way it can integrate with three-phase properties. So we've been made aware of other chargers that have three-phase solar on a three-phase home. They're only able to draw the solar off one of the three phases. So what the Zappi can do, it can net the total across all three phases and then deliver that on one phase. And we can also dynamically switch between single-phase and three-phase. So when you're getting down below that 4.2 kilowatts for three-phase charging, it'll switch over to single-phase. So you're getting the maximum from that whole bandwidth between 1.4 kilowatts and 22. So it's really clever in the way it consumes every last bit of surplus solar, and also load manage three phases as well, which is really important. So if you have a single-phase charger on a three-phase home, you're essentially blind to what the other two phases are doing, but the Myenergi ecosystem can pick up all of that. And the other great feature of the Zappi and the Myenergi products is the app. So you get that full visualization of everything that's happening in your home in real time. So I did an experiment last week and I was going to do it today, but I didn't have the resources. But you can actually turn on your vacuum cleaner and watch the app and see how much power your vacuum cleaner draws. So it's, once you get it installed, you really nerd out on your energy use. And if you measure it, you can manage it. And if you can manage it, you can save money. So it's a really great way of seeing your energy use and being fully aware, and nothing can hide. So we had a case in Ireland where they installed an Eddi, which is another one of our products. They kept on constantly drawing 4 kilowatts from the grid and no one could work out why. Turned every load off in the house, couldn't work out what it was. Then went up in the shed and found out someone had left like a foot heater on and had been going for a year and no one knew about it until I installed the Eddi. So nothing can hide from the ecosystem. The other benefit is if you have other products in the ecosystem like a second charger, you can actually prioritise between the devices. So you can drag and drop and the surplus will be prioritised to the top device, or you can split it evenly and they'll all load balance together. And if you've got solar on your roof, you really want to make that energy work for you. So because the Zappi uses CT clamps and all the smarts are inside the charger, it's not reliant on a cloud connection. So a lot of chargers are marketed as smart devices. The smarts are in the cloud, not in the device. So if you've got slow internet, I'm sure anyone here has watched Netflix or streamed something online and see that spinning circle because they can't stream the show they want to watch. That's the same with OCPP. So if you've got a poor internet connection or something goes down, you lose all your smarts as well. So the Zappi has the smarts baked in. So if your Wi-Fi goes down, I know my mum's replacing a router every 2 or 3 months because she's not that tech savvy. Yeah, she doesn't lose that smart functionality, so that's really critical with your load balancing. And you can see with OCPP there, because the commands are going from the device out to the cloud, the other side of the world, then going back to the device, and the device is telling you what to do, you're not getting that really concise and accurate load management. And if you've got something like a hot water and a timer, it's just on or off, that's it. You don't have any of that throttling. The other advantage here, you can see it gets down to 3 kilowatts there with export. That's because this property is got an export limit of 3 kilowatts. So if you're able to maximise that self-consumption, you're not limited to what the solar can do, you're limited to what it can produce and maximise get the output of the solar. So your solar is a bit like your first year apprentice. To get it to work, sometimes you've got to give it a job. And with our ecosystem, you're making your solar work for you. And just touching back on here, all this here is free power they're not making use of. So you might be charging your car well and happily, but you want to make more of this. So we have another product in our suitcase called the Eddi. Eddi's our Swiss Army knife of solar consumption. So it works on the same principles as Zappi, except rather than divert that power to an electric vehicle, you can divert that to your hot water tank or pool heater or any large load around the home. You can see that in your app in real time as well. So it's really good for the older style electric hot water tanks. And if you're sucking up that solar during the day and using that power at night, you've essentially got a battery and for a third of or a fraction of the cost. And it gives you a whole lot of visualizations of what your energy is doing as well. So with a relay board and a PT sensor, you can actually track the temperature of your hot water in real time as well. So you can turn your hot water on and off by the ignition button there. So if you go away on a holiday, you can turn your hot water off when you're at the airport and you're not consuming that power while you're away. Then when you're on your flight home, turn your hot water back on and you've got a hot shower as soon as you get home. It's a really good way of tracking your savings. Because it's a resistive load, you can get down to the last watt and consume every last bit of that surplus energy. And then you've still got more surplus, don't know what to do with it. That's where a battery comes in. So if you put something like a Powerwall or an Enphase, any sort of battery you see here, the Zappi is able to collaborate with that rather than draw from it. So if you've got a 75 kilowatt hour battery in your vehicle and a Powerwall might be 13 kilowatt hours, that's a massive discrepancy here. So if your charger's sucking your battery dry, all your battery power is stuck in your car and you can't use it at night in your home. So with the Zappi, we've got workarounds enabled to avoid draining your battery when charging from solar. So if you've got a Powerwall 2 or an AC coupled battery, we can actually add a CT clamp and then you'll see on your Myenergi app, power going to and from your battery as well. So it gives you that added visibility in one app. You're not having to switch apps all the time. If you've got a DC or hybrid inverter, we have another setting available, which will trickle a little bit of power into the battery, kind of like eco charging. But if the battery is receiving power, it can't give out power at the same time, so it essentially blocks it from discharging, and then you're charging both your battery and your car from your surplus solar and maximising everything you've got. And the other thing we've been working on is if you think about all these concepts around self-consumption of solar and load management, that sort of thing, if you scale out to the size of the grid and the greater Melbourne area, Using smart devices, these can actually manage the grid rather than just the whole home. So we've been doing a trial in Victoria for demand-side response. So because these devices can speak out to the cloud and the internet and that sort of thing, they can communicate with the energy network as well. So when there's times of peak demand and there's a lot of stress on the grid and prices are really high, if you've got tens of thousands of EV chargers, they can ramp down, and rather than having to fire up coal and gas-fired power stations to meet demand or produce more supply, we can actually reduce demand. So you're still able to charge your car, but it might be at a reduced rate. We have schemes in the UK such as grid pay. So when your charge gets throttled due to a grid event, you might get a £5 credit in your account. So that becomes a new feed-in tariff. So we did find it also generates a lot of social good as well. So people who opt into this scheme, they have the option of donating the proceeds to a charity of their choice. And it's developed a lot of funds for local charities as well. So it is a really good way of future-proofing your home. So if you don't have a smart charger, you won't have the capability of doing this. So, and that ties into things like Amber as well, your dynamic pricing. So your energy prices are tied to the wholesale price of electricity. Using a smart charger, you're able to maximise that. And sometimes you can get paid to charge your car, depending on the wholesale price. So it's a really exciting proposition for the end user. So you bought your Zappi, you're charging for free. You want to go a step further, you can put one in your workplace as well, or your Airbnb. So you can monetize the Zappi via a third-party charge provider. It'll show a QR code, as you see there. It's a really good way of being secure in accepting payment. So what we find in the UK and Europe is that people create their own QR codes and put it on top of a sign and then steal your credit card details. But with the QR code wired into the software, you can't corrupt it. So you can turn something that could be an initial burden and a cost into a revenue stream and actually make money if you're charging at work or Airbnb or any sort of public facility. This is a bit of a brief overview of what the Zappi offers you. So it's all inclusive. There's no additional hardware required. All your smarts are inbuilt. It's not cloud-based. You set your charge schedules, so based on that cheap price of electricity. Load balancing, which is really important if you're electrifying your home. Your smart integrations, so we're working on integration with Amber at the moment. We've got integrations in the UK with Octopus and Ovo. Tethered or untethered, so depending on your option, you can go for a tethered cable or an untethered. It's built-in Wi-Fi. The other benefit of built-in Wi-Fi is it allows us to do remote tech support. So we can, with your permission, check in on your device, and if it's not working, we can diagnose the problem. If it's user error or it's not installed correctly or anything like that, we can push firmware updates remotely. It's really helpful for us in tech support and able to work out what's happening and fix your problem for you. And saves electricians a lot of time as well. All your solar charging, it's built into the charger. All your data is exportable. So if you want to give your charge history to your accountant or your business to claim that based on an expense, you can export your charge sessions as well, so you can get paid back for it. It's got a tap-to-back wake light display, which is a little feature that not many people know about. But if it's in a dark garage and you want to see what's happening on your screen, just give it a knock and it'll wake up and show you exactly what's happening. It's also pin lockable as well, so you can lock people out from using your charger. One thing you might find about EV owners is if they smell free power, they'll take it. So if you lock them out, that prevents them from stealing your power. So this is a bit of a breakdown of how it can add value to your charging, and think about charging as an ongoing expense, not just an upfront cost to the install. So all these features here, whether it's scheduled charging, controlled by your app, solar aware, that's all basic inbuilt standard, and that saves you money in the long run. So to make a more basic charger do what the Zappi does, is often you're locked into certain ecosystems, particularly with Tesla, the brains are in the car, not in the charger. So if you decide to get a BMW or a BYD and sell your Tesla, the brains go with the car. So you're kind of locked out that way. And to add things like load balancing and solar aware charging, you're often paying for additional hardware subscription costs as well. So it does save you money in the long run. And that also wouldn't be helpful without any local support. We don't expect anyone to be an expert. That's why a lot of people are here. They're here to learn. The thing I love about my job the most is I always go home knowing more than I did when I arrived at work. Support is always overlooked when it costs in factoring the cost of a charger. So you could buy a cheap charger online, have it installed, and then if there's an issue, for some reason you're not charging your car, no one wants to know about it. often no warranty support as well, or very little support. But we're very big on supporting the customers because we can't make this transition without having the customer informed and helping the customer and encouraging them to make that leap. So we're very supportive of customers that do move to electrify their homes, and very empathetic with how we treat our customers and installers. So we recently won Solar Quotes. If anyone reads the Solar Quotes website, they have an EV Charger Award every year. This year we got the best EV tech support, which is something we're very proud of. To be up there with the likes of Tesla and that sort of thing for a small team of ours is a huge accomplishment, and that's something I'm most proud of. So we aim to be the charger of choice for electricians that they would choose in their home. And the thing that makes us most proud is this was voted for by solar installers, not by people who write reviews online. It's people out in the field doing the work. So if they know they can get through to support, as well as the customer as well, because the customer is very important, that really drives us. And it's something we aim to even improve on next year. So local support team in Melbourne, so you can contact us by email, phone. We also have how-to channels on YouTube and a massive help centre. So all our learnings from UK and Europe, they're a much more advanced EV market. They've probably seen all these issues 5 years ago that we might see here. There's a lot of vehicle issues that often get underreported. The first thing they do is blame the charger. Then we've actually used the Zappi via the readings to determine there's a fault with the onboard charger or something like that. In one case, we even issued a recall on several Polestars because the onboard charger was failing in one phase, and they didn't know about it until our tech support told them. So having local tech support and able to solve your issues for you and get you charging is super critical. So that's it from me. If anyone wants to get in touch with us or Lightning about quoting an install or the feature sets or anything like that, don't be afraid to get in touch. I'm always open, happy to help people out whenever they need it. It's my job, so thank you very much.
Cool, thank you. All right, so Reece, do you want to come up as well? I'm just thinking if we can do a bit of a Q&A. So does anyone have any questions around that? Anything you guys want to know? It could be for any one of us here. Yeah, I'll give you the mic. Hold on.
All right, yeah. Just got a couple of questions. The first thing is you mentioned that with trickle charging and using an extension cable was a no-no. BYD has asked us to use an extension cable to use trickle charging. Did you say it was a fire risk or something?
It's a potential fire.
Potential fire risk, but if
Are BYD telling you to?
well, if we're away from our charger, we can from.
Trickle charger should always be classed as a emergency charging point. It shouldn't be your primary one. So, as an example, Tesla actually removed it as being supplied with the vehicle, and they wanted to say, hey, install a dedicated charging point.
Yeah.
The portable one should only be an emergency charger. And so when you look at extension cables, you'll look at the rating. Yeah. Are there any kinks in it? How is it being wound up? There's so many variables in it that the potential for it to be a virus is quite high.
I'm saying when you're on holiday or something, you're forced to sort of use it sometimes, because you can't get a charger. So.
Yeah, but even in saying that, the availability of power points in locations, there are ways to do it. And as sort of public charging infrastructure increases, try and find the best option for you.
Okay. Right.
And it does create fatigue as well. So as it's doing it over a prolonged period of time, the cable can expand and contract, and then all of a sudden you get fractures, and that's where you get fail points as well. So it's good in a pinch if you need to, but if you're doing it long term, make sure you're using a really good extension lead and have a dedicated circuit run by a qualified electrician.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, that's the difference between like having a dedicated one. It has to have a dedicated circuit back through to the switchboard, whereas a 10-amp switch, you don't know if it's been daisy chained, whereas and how old the cable is, etc.
And it's only a matter of time before insurance companies catch on as well. So if you've got a home charger using a trickle charger, they might slug you with extra insurance fees because of that risk as well.
Just another quick question. I've got conflicting information about charging a car up 100%. BYD said that they're fine with it, and another group from BYD said to me I would just go up to 80% for battery, conservation in the long run. So I'm not sure what's the best advice? Should you be charging to 100% or should you be programming it to charge it to 90 or?
How have you found BYD support in general?
Not bad, but a bit slow, yeah.
Yeah. I think they hire a lot of international students on short contracts as well. So
Yeah.
a lot of the time they don't have the knowledge or the care, the dedicated resource in support.
Yeah.
In regards to your charge limits, it is good to charge occasionally 100% to balance the cells.
Yeah.
Particularly around 89% is pretty good for battery chemistry.
80 or 90 is better, yeah, which is what the phone companies do sometimes, yeah. Cool, thanks.
I mean, the further answer to that is it depends on the car. Yeah, even within Tesla, they have different advice they give you depending on which model car, which battery you have, or which generation. I forget the exact specifics because it's so hard to follow because it changes all the time. But
Yeah, I think they were saying, like, in regards to the LFP battery, you know, that they do say you can charge to 100%. And then with, say, like a long range, it uses different battery chemistry. Like my one, they say, you know, recommended at 80%. But there's also sort of discussions of you don't even need to keep it that high, you know, keeping it low is probably better. If I'm going on a road trip, I'll sort of think, do I need 100% charge? You know, so I think over time you'll recognise, you know what, I don't have to keep this vehicle topped up to X amount. But again, if you want to take advantage of free charging, you know, those sort of things, you may want to top it up.
cool. Give him the mic.
100%. It's NMC battery at 80%. It's recommended to keep it for long at 80, but I think they're okay to 100, like if you go somewhere.
Is that okay? You can hear? Okay. It's interesting because I'm not quite sure who's trying to own the whole solar area, because I've got a Zappi but I don't really use it to run the system. I've also got SolarEdge battery and set up, and I probably look around more to see what's happening. But also you've got people like Amber or whatever. It's interesting to see how you think the best way of setting up your system to get the knowledge. If the car charger is trying to provide all the information and the battery provider is trying to provide all the information.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question because there's a lot of different systems and it depends on the ecosystem you're on and what you prefer. This is why a lot of people do argue towards moving towards one ecosystem as much as possible. So Tesla obviously have that solution, SolarEdge have that solution, they've got their EV charging sorted now. They previously didn't have an EV charging, and then there is different layers of different apps. So we do end up with a lot of homeowners that have a bunch of different apps on their phone and sometimes not necessarily one source of truth. So I guess it's really up to you to kind of work out what system you have. It's kind of a case-by-case thing, but you know, Myenergi, obviously you offer a full solution. Through there they can monitor. You could use just the Myenergi app. It depends how the system's set up. So what you've got a Zappi and a SolarEdge.
SolarEdge battery and inverter. And I was wanting to use Amber, so it's sort of like everyone's wanting to tell you what to do.
It's an interesting one, right? So when you're looking at sort of like, which you touched on, like OCPP. So OCPP has restrictions. You're not going to get this potentially full suite of sort of smart features that you may have within an EV charger versus, you know, sort of using the existing sort of software. So you may have an integration with, say, an Amber, but they'll only have a set of rules to run a certain number of things. So, you know, you may not have that full functionality in there. So, you know, you can pick and choose. But there are other integrations with Amber, which make API ones where you actually log into your account that may get that full suite. So it really depends on how the integration is with Amber, SolarEdge, Zappi, or Omi.
And we'll find integrations will improve over time as well. So it's kind of like the Apple versus Android wars, and you can't be locked in one ecosystem. You have to play nice with other devices. So EV charging is going to be no different.
Thank you.
All right, question back there.
I'm taking delivery of my my first EV first week of December. Your chargers, how are they as far as IP rating for dust and water?
Zappi is IP65, so they're okay outdoors. It's obviously better to have them out of full sun where possible. They can be installed outdoors, and IK10 for collision.